Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I'm Debashis Basu. The stock markets have crashed as they do from time to time, and each time it's for a different reason. And this time, the reason of course is coronavirus. The virus, which started as a Chinese epidemic sometime in December, has now escalated into a global scare. Since the problem is severest in China, it means a simultaneous global demand and supply shock, which rarely happens. China not only does a lot of world's manufacturing, but is also a big importer. Over 30 years of globalization, ever since the Berlin Wall fell, countries have developed strong linkages in manufacturing, trade, and travel. This means a trouble, or rather big trouble, in one part of the world is easily transmitted across thousands of miles, especially cases like these. But the real worry for India is not the market crash. A far bigger worry is the weakened state of our economy, which is getting worse by the day and is going to get very badly affected by coronavirus if the virus is not contained very soon. India is especially vulnerable because for all the mistakes that we have committed for the past 6 years and more. On Friday, the government announced that India's GDP growth dropped to a 27-quarter low of 4.7% year-on-year from 5.1% in the year before. Behind these headline numbers, the details are more worrying. First, the manufacturing sector is now already in a recession, having registered 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. Second, the utility sector posted its first contraction in the new data series. Third, the construction sector recorded no growth. Fourth, exports have contracted for the second consecutive quarter. Fifth, and it's the biggest worry, is capital investments posted a second consecutive quarter of contraction. It was minus 5.2% year-on-year, a record low. Set against the virus scare globally and the global market crash, the latest economic numbers present a really bad scenario for us, especially since the December quarter is supposed to be among the strongest. Clearly, the Indian markets were running on fumes when it was going up and up, and the virus has simply exposed the weak immunity of India's economy to such an external impact. This weakness is, as I said, due to poor policy making, and that too at the highest levels. In the last 6 years, from the Prime Minister's office downwards, Netas and Babus have not only perpetuated gross errors of the past, or that is of UPA, but have committed serious new ones. Hence, we stand today more vulnerable than ever at any time in the recent past. Hence, we stand more vulnerable today than at any time in the recent past. One, the government has found no solution for the grossly unproductive public sector. That drains away a lot of money. There has been no meaningful disinvestment or strategic disinvestment, only tricks like getting one public sector company to buy the shares of another. The only notable thing that has happened is sales of the 4 railway corporations, which is IRCTC and Rail Vikas Nigam and so on, which is a very significant disinvestment according to me. Meanwhile, billions of rupees have been taken out of government companies as dividends, so they do not have money for the capital expenditure. Some companies do not have enough money to pay the salaries, like BSNL and Hindustan Aeronautics. Some companies don't even have enough money to pay the salaries, like BHEL or Hindustan Aeronautics. Within the public sector, the biggest cesspool of corruption, which is the public sector banks, remain as they were, except for some silly mergers to make them bigger and bigger. Their ownership and lack of management accountability remain as it is. Bad loans, therefore, will continue to hobble their operations, and hundreds of billions of rupees of taxpayers' money have to be periodically pumped into them to keep them alive. 2. The big schemes and the yojanas which all governments love. This government changed the names of the schemes of the Congress government and expanded them. It announced a new loan mela called Mudra. The fiscal deficit is bloated, hidden by gimmickry. 3. Tax terrorism continues, driven by collection targets given to all tax offices. The high tax rates, glitch-ridden systems, and draconian rules of GST have not helped increase government revenues, but have surely created enormous headaches for businesses, which saps their energy and money. Remember these words of the ex-director of Infosys, Mohandas Pai? He said, tax officials seem to think of everybody as evaders and themselves as vigilantes. We have filed returns in over 30 countries, but no country treats taxpayers as badly as India does. Besides, the Modi government has launched a series of expensive and countrywide projects that have caused strife and harassment of citizens. One is Aadhaar, which promised to be a miracle identification project to cut subsidies, but is now just another big wasteful scheme hurting those it was supposed to help, which is the poor. The second project has created enormous fear and social tension, and that is the Citizens Amendment Act and the National Population Register, a brainchild of P. Chidambaram. Put together, instead of minimum government and maximum governance, we got just the opposite, an even more expansive, intrusive government, while Vikas and Achhe Din have disappeared as vote-catching political slogans. With coercion, bans, tax terrorism, arrogance, and continued decline of institutions running through most policy making, the immunity of the economic system has naturally turned weak and therefore defenseless against external attacks. If the coronavirus hadn't caused a market crash, an anemic domestic economy would surely have extracted its price anyway. Thanks for watching.